Alex here from Gizmo Mowing up on the mid-north coast of Australia, up around the Newcastle, or just a bit north of Newcastle. Basically want to come to you today and basically give a bit of an overview on what it's been like to own a Wright Stander in Australia, how it performs, how it's gone for us, and all that. So at the moment it's sitting on 188 hours, so it didn't do a lot last season purely because of the dry spell, so it basically sat on the trailer and maybe did 30 hours all season. So it really hasn't done a huge amount of work in the last 12 months, but we ordered it around August 2018, so we're getting close to 2 years since we've had it. There's a few things that pushed us to go with the Wright. At the time, there really wasn't a lot of options with the Standers. So the only ones that we had the option of was a grandstand, Bobcat, or the Skag. There wasn't any Skags in the country at the time. It was impossible for me to find a grandstand. I couldn't find one anywhere to look at. SME Mowers did bring us up a Bobcat 48-inch, which we the Quick Cat, which we test drove, and it was good. But there was a few little things that I was concerned about in the future with that machine. It was still a good machine, but it didn't quite fit what we wanted. So basically, yeah, we were looking at a fairly long lead time on a Skag at that time, and we couldn't actually see one in the flesh either. Mind you, we couldn't see this either, so you know, that's kind of not really relevant, but yeah, so anyway, we went through as many brands as we could. Gravely at that time, we couldn't even, there was just nothing on the planet with them at that time, because with the demise of All Power and then Alco taking Massport over, and you know, Gravely as well, it was just a nightmare, and I was just too scared to really go down that track in case anything went too pear-shaped there. So essentially we just had to give them a wide berth, but so we ordered this through Pacific All Trade, which at that time was selling them. Now the guys to go through is ZTR Mowers in New Zealand. Andrew's fantastic. He's helped us out heaps with getting parts, things like that, and he's really keen. So he's been fantastic. We've got a transmission oil filter on the way for this. I'm going to do a bit of a premature oil change on it. Mainly because it's been working pretty hard in some hot sandy lawns, so I'd rather preserve it and just do it a bit early. So yeah, so overall we went for the FX 600 Kawasaki. We could get it in basically 3 engines, so we could get, I think it was an FS series Kawasaki, which I wasn't really interested in, or a Kohler Confidant, which was a 20, I think they say it's 20.2 horsepower. There wasn't any other machines in Australia with that motor 2 years ago. I could not find a single thing on it, so I just gave that a total miss. And the Kawasaki was just, you know, no-brainer. Fantastic engine, haven't had to do a thing to it. It's going to get the valves adjusted before the season starts. Regular oil change, air filters keep surprisingly clean, even in the really dusty environments. So other than that, it's all good. Fantastic engine, can't fault it, starts first pop every time. I don't even use a choke, it's just awesome. So handbrake here, it's got the grips that lock into the tyre treads. Works really well, but you have to make sure your tyre pressures are matched up to the handbrake position, because otherwise you can pull it on, doesn't work, or you pull it on and it's way too tight. So that's one thing to, you know, you've got to keep in check with these. And this deck system with these Wrights, they run the same as the 36 grandstand. So you'll notice the mower and the motor and the deck all lower and lift as one, which does create some positives. So the deck belt and the trans belt, everything stays in one line. It's never on an angle. The only thing that does mean is you do have to keep your tyre pressures even, because if the mower is slightly off kilt, the cut quality suffers 100%. Probably not noticeable on clay ground, but here the ground is so soft and the lawns are so spongy that you really notice it. But yeah, so with that, you do have to keep your tyre pressures good. The first thing that I noticed with this mower was if you were cutting on low heights and you're on undulated ground, it's not the mower that's scalping, it's actually the deck, because it doesn't move independently without a fair bit of force. It was grabbing dirt, so it was actually grabbing the ground. So we've solved that by putting the X-Blade kit on, which has lowered the blades, basically the equivalent of the thickness of 2 mower blades. So they're more or less that much lower now. So they're sitting about they're about 4 or 5 mil from the bottom of the deck now. So it just changes this mower totally. Hardly get any gouging on any really undulating terrain or thick lawns. It's just totally changed the cut. And with the X-Blade kit, I run 2 gators. The last few lawns I've mown have had on-side discharge, just because they are really feral and covered in sticks, leaves, and mulching them it just doesn't seem to be as good. I've just got a cheap baffle plate on there. I can't unfortunately put an advanced chute or anything like that on there because the tolerance between the sides of my trailer where this goes, I've only really got 1.5 inches to get this mower in, and on wet days it slides around, and I'm just gonna tear a chute, one of those auto chute blockers. It's just gonna get ripped off. So I run the ASP blades to suit the Skag V-Ride. They're not bad. I think I'd probably prefer the Oregon blades. They don't last anywhere near as long. So I just run, 4 18-inch blades. You can buy them in packs sometimes to suit the 52-inch mowers, so Toro Z Master or whatever. I just buy 2 packs of 3 and I've got 6 blades there. Other than that, I really like this height adjuster system. I find it's probably the best one I've come across now that I've checked a few other mowers out. You don't actually need to have the pin on the height you want it. So that pin is more or less just to stop it from, going down to the lowest height while you're mowing or whatever. So this deck is just super effortless. Like, that just glides up and down. It's a bit squeaky at the moment. It was in the rain for a couple of hours yesterday, so. And basically what it does on each height, it has a notch either side. So when you press that button in, it releases a dual-sided pin down the bottom, and then you hear that click in. So that's not moving. And the best thing is, because it's really light, if you're going along, you just go up like that if you're about to hit something. And we will always lock it in. Sometimes when we're doing a ferrule, we'll put a pin on our finished height, lock it in up here, do a cut, drop it down, another one, then we know what the finished height is, which is good if someone else is using this machine. And it's also good for that, with that setup, because you can lock it in and float over a lawn if you just want to disperse the clippings. So yeah, really good. It's a nice short design. That was the thing that sold me on this mower. I wanted something that was fairly compact. So my trailer is 6'6" wide on the internals. I can spin this around. So I can put this in the trailer in the center, spin it around. It moves around beautifully. You could probably just do it in a 6-foot trailer if you're good enough. I've taken the lid off the battery cover, mainly because I was running my air compressor and things like that. The quad lever system is fantastic. I don't know if I could go to another mower that doesn't have this. Like, it's just makes getting used to controls just so super easy. You can really have a bit of finesse on these controls, which is what I like. And they're fairly smooth with the pump and wheel motor setup. So these run the 10cc hydro gear pumps and Danfoss wheel motors, which was the main thing when I went to this sort of mower. The requirement for me was it had to have pump and motor setup. I didn't want sealed hydros. It's nothing wrong with that sort of setup, but for me, if I was spending $13,000 on a mower, I wanted it to have pump and motor setup. And to me, it's just so much smoother, and it just performs so good. Don't get bogged as much either, I find, because the power's not instant. You can apply that power on a bit slower. I haven't done anything to the deck at all. I do want to get a bit of rake on it. I want to drop the front down a little bit, just to try and see if that changes the performance in the really thick long grass. It's good, but sometimes you do notice that you just want that bit more vacuum to spray that clipping out when you're finished. Because with wet type grasses, or grasses that have a lot of leaf moisture, it doesn't disperse. Sometimes you just need to get the backpack blower. So anything that minimises having to get another machine off the trailer is perfect. But otherwise, other than that, consumable items for Kawasaki obviously you can get anywhere. Other parts, they just freight them in from the States. We can get them FedExed, or Andrew there in New Zealand does have a fair few parts on stock. He puts them in a package, they get sent here. I haven't had to order anything. I've literally had to not order a thing for this mower. At 188 hours, like on our other mower, which is a Z122 Kubota, I'd probably put 5 deck belts on it. It's about to get its 3rd set of spindle bearings. Like, it's just totally different with this machine. It's just, I haven't had to touch a single thing on it. Solid casters, I love that. I would never have a mower that has pneumatic front casters again. Other than that, it's been a great machine. For us, we want to add a Catch Pro to this, hopefully this year. It was my aim earlier in the piece to get one, like from the day we got it. But unfortunately, you just had to put that on hold for other reasons. So hopefully this year we'll get one of those on, just to lift that standard of our lawns a bit more. I just want to totally go back to catching because I do prefer it. But yeah, everything is fairly simple. You can adjust the rake of the deck up the front here just by adjusting, loosening this off, and taking a bit of weight off it. Tilt it whatever way you want. All these mechanisms here they're really solid. It's all thick steel. Won't lose the pin. The only thing I've got a bit of a drama with is the battery box. One of the batteries that was in here did leak a bit of acid, so it's rusted the corners out. So that's no fault of the mower. That's just from a shit battery. So I'm going to pull that out, and I can actually unbolt. This is actually a panel, so I'm going to unbolt that, and I might just prep it up, repaint it, put it back on. Otherwise, I will get a new one. So yeah, other than that, one of the other features that we like about this machine is I really like this springy platform. So obviously you've got springs there to make it return, but underneath you have what they call elastomer springs. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, it's a bit dark under there, but they're basically a big rubber spring. And they are absolutely unreal. Like that platform it's fairly stiff, but when I get on it, you can see it really takes the really absorbs those bumps. It's fantastic, and that was one of the other things I liked. Some of the other mowers have got that, like the Tyro Grandstand is probably pretty close to that, but I did find, like on the Bobcat, I didn't think that was anywhere near as good. So as you can see here, like all the controls are pretty good. Everything's accessible. You're not trying to get your hand under or anything like that. Everything's all there. It's all easy. Throttle, all that, all good. And the other thing I like is it's really easy to see the fuel gauge. That is a big winner for me because I am hopeless with filling that tank up. The other thing that's great about this fuel tank, it's not quite 20 litres, so it takes about 12 to 15 litres to fill it, which I really like because I can put a full jerry can, fill my jerry cans up, put a full jerry in there, and I've got enough to keep the hand mower filled up or mix a thing of 2-stroke. So it's not quite, when it's empty, you're not going to quite drain a 20 litre drum to fill it. So other than that, like, it's all, garage door there. It's all pretty self-explanatory. Pretty good machine. These all come off nice and easy. It's only a couple of bolts to get those off. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So like I said, I've got the X-Blade kit on there. I'm not sure there is a few people that say it's probably going to reduce the life of the spindles. And that is what it is. I'm going to try it out. Basically, that was my thing with this mower. You know, I get a lot of messages asking me about it, and I can't praise it enough at the moment. Like, it's just been faultless. And my big thing is basically with getting these established in this country, it would be great to see, because I couldn't see a better machine for us as another mower is to go up either in an intensity, go up to a 52, or go to the Stander X and go to a 52, or even a Stander B for that matter. And you do get the benefit of, basically you get let into their Wright owners Facebook page, which is fantastic once you buy one. It's great. You know, Ed Wright himself is in there. They answer questions. There's heaps of guys in there. So when you have a problem, if you do have a problem, most of them have faced it once before, which is really, like, that's terrific. It is, and it's good to ask advice on the mower, you know, whether there's things you can do to improve it, especially for us guys. Guys in Florida cut on stuff that's very similar to what we mow. So there's plenty of advice out there. Now, the other thing I like too, it's a bit hard to see in this dingy light, but in there, just under the oil filter, which is, I'll try and get in the light a bit better. So in there, it's really hard to see. Okay, so in there, there's that little tap looking thing. They give you a small length of hose. And what you do, when you go to change the oil, you basically put the hose on there, undo it, and it just feeds out the hose into your bucket, which is great. Makes it easy. I've done it with the vacuum change thing once. It was okay, but I feel like draining it out gets everything out, and I normally will drain it out, shut it off, put a half a litre of oil in there, let it sit for 10 minutes, open it up, and just flush that last bit out the bottom. Probably makes no difference, but to me, it's peace of mind. And as you can see, like, this thing's filthy. I haven't washed it for a while. Obviously out here we only have tank water, so I don't like wasting it on the mowers. I just normally take them to the car wash, but I figured for the purpose of this, I wanted it to look like it does, you know, most days. But I held off on sort of putting a review out there about this mower, because I didn't want to go spreading it, you know, information about it if I wasn't confident that it was up to the task, because it's a lot of money to spend on a mower. And, you know, you want to be confident that it's a good machine. And I wasn't prepared to put information out there about it that wasn't good, or, you know, or misinformation. Like anything, not every machine suits every purpose, suits every person. But for me, this is working really well. I couldn't have hoped for anything better. Yeah, so, and obviously at the time we were really limited for options. I couldn't get demos of anything. I could barely see anything in stock. So, you know, like for me, if it was ordering a Skag or a Toro, I basically had to buy the machine and get it, you know, at that time. There just wasn't any stock. And it's good to see, you know, there's a lot more Standers coming into the market, and it's fantastic. Obviously, I did have a look the other day and noticed Parklander haven't got any zero turns or anything now, because it would have been good to see that Bradley come into the country. I mean, good price point for everyone. But, yeah, so, look, it's an interesting mower. It's been really good to own. I'd probably buy another one in a heartbeat, to be honest. Obviously, no dealer support is the biggest thing. That's something that I hope to see change. I think it will. I'm putting it out there that I've got this mower. If anyone wants to see it, wants to know anything about it, dealers want to see it, know anything about it, I'll answer any questions. If you're within an hour where I live, if you're in Newcastle or around that, you know, Port Macquarie, Foster, anywhere around there, and you want to check it out one day, just send me a message, find me on Facebook there, Gizmo Mowing. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, give you a look, whatever. It's because it really is a good machine. So yeah, we've really had a good run with it. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Obviously, like anything, make your own mind up, because it's, you know, it is really easy for us guys that own them to tell you how good they are, but you really got to make your own mind up. And that was what I did. I sat down, watched a lot of videos, and just, one day made the decision. Took a long time, but I had 12, 18 months where I sat down and I thought about it. So I was sure when I ordered it, I knew what I wanted. So anyway, happy mowing.